All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Ink Scribes, the comics podcast where we discuss the art and craft of comics. I'm Colin Singh. I'm an aspiring comics artist and lifelong student of the craft. I'm joined by my co host, Eric Zawadzki, artist and creator of assorted crisis events coming from Image Comics, and Taylor Stauft, creator, writer, and artist of From Fire and Blood, a Jason Jang adventure.
Yeah, I'm also the writer and artist of a short story coming up in the soon to launch Kickstarter for Fast and Light Volume 2. There'll be a link down below for the pre launch page. So I hope you guys give it a follow and check out my stuff.
Yeah, and as Colin mentioned, I'm the artist of Assorted Crisis Events, which is a ongoing from Image Comics. Issue 3 should be in shops right now. I'd appreciate anybody watching this pick it up.
You definitely should.
Today, very, very special episode. We're going to be covering what is considered a revolutionary era in North American comics history in the 90s, specifically the creator owned era. The books that we're going to be looking at today come from Legend Comics and Bravura Comics. Eric, if you want to expound on that.
So creator-owned comics were in vogue in the late 70s and all throughout the 80s. I'm specifically thinking of books like Cerebus and Love and Rockets, Gru, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's just to name a few,
Yeah.
but Image Comics in the 90s felt like a revolution. And it probably showed the entire comics industry that there was a greater possibility of making a good living off of creator-owned comics than ever before. So, looking at the Image revolution, I think all the previous and newer generations of creators just dove right into the creator-owned space. So the 1970s generation of comics creators had the imprint Bravura at Malibu. The 80s generation of creators had the Legend imprint at Dark Horse. And some of the other 90s creators outside of the Image guys had Blanc Noir at Dark Horse Comics. Oh, and there was also Cliffhanger Comics. The lesson that the Image founders taught everyone was that if you banded together, you could make a bigger splash with your creator-owned comics. So that's what all these creators did with their imprints.
Hell yeah.
We
This
have
is
so
a
much stuff to go through here.
this is an era that I have almost no connection to at all. So it was super cool to
Yeah,
see
you came
like
into comics
where
in the early 2000s, I guess, Taylor?
mid 2000s. Yeah,
Mid-
yeah. And yeah, so any all of this I've only really come into contact with through like comics history articles. Nothing, none of the actual material itself. But it's cool to see. It's cool to read.
Colin, how much of this stuff were you reading as it was coming out?
Well, actually, I came into Dark Horse Comics maybe in my teenage years, but through the 90s, I mean, from age 9 to 13, I was pretty much strictly Image Comics. But then as I got older, my
Mhm.
taste got a little bit more refined. Then I started reading Hellboy, I started reading Sin City. Um, really, like my entire teenage reading chronology is just kind of all over the place. I can't even really say whether I was reading. I know for sure that I was reading Image before I read any of these books, but even the Bravura stuff, it's kind of a blind spot for me. That was more
Yeah,
the
me too.
like you said, the '70s creators were over there. My dad was reading, stuff like Dreadstar and books like that, but they weren't really my
Awesome.
taste until I got older.
Yeah, I grew up with a twin brother, and so I bought comics, and so did he, and he was buying a lot of the Dark Horse Legend stuff, and so I got to read a lot of that John Byrne and the Mike Mignola, the Hellboy stuff as it was coming out.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
In fact, all the comics that we're going to be looking at today are from Eric's brother's collection, Chris's collection. Everything you see
Thanks,
here.
Chris.
I mean, many of
Oh,
these we own
yeah.
ourselves. Actually, few of these, not many, we own ourselves. But
Ooh,
everything you see here is from his collection.
that Star Slammers one is much nicer than what I got.
Yeah, I've got this
Yeah.
one too. Actually, this is a really sweet addition.
Yeah.
Inside the
Right
introduction,
on.
actually, Walt Simonson talks about his college years and how he started Star Slammers before it even became a Marvel comic. When Marvel published it through Epic, was it
Yeah,
through Epic?
I
Yeah, they
think
did a Marvel graphic novel through Epic,
Yeah,
right?
Taylor, that's the version you have, right?
it
The
is. Yeah,
original.
Yeah,
yeah,
You
yeah.
have the original, Taylor. I think that's kind of cooler, actually.
kind of.
Oh
Yeah,
wow,
but
Chris actually has it signed by Simonson here.
I wish I had that though. Damn.
Yeah.
Darn, yeah. Okay, anyway, we're getting a little bit off track. So the two main books we're going to be looking at today are Bravura #0 and San Diego Comic-Con Comics #2. So Bravura #0, just give me a second here. Ay, ay, ay. And there's more than this
A
even.
lot of comics.
All right, so these are the two we're looking at today. Bravura #0 was a send-away comic. So you had to collect stamps from Malibu Comics being published over the course of, I'd say, 6 months. Collect the stamps that were inside each comic, glue them to a page, and get like a row of stamps depending on what books you were buying. Let me just whip this out here to tell you what I mean. So let's take Power and Glory #1. So inside Power and Glory, there would be a gold stamp, and you take that and you tape it or glue it to this page here. And now, like I said, you would have to read 6 months worth of comics to collect one row. But a lot of these comics, well, actually, some of these comics, Chris was telling me, didn't actually get published. Like Edge #4 never
Really?
came out. Star Slammers #5 never came out.
Oh,
It was
geez.
actually published as Star Slammers Special with Dark Horse over at Legend.
Oh my god.
Once the Bravura line kind of fizzled out, right? But yeah,
So yeah, a
uh,
lot of companies were doing this stuff. Like Image did something similar with their early books to get Image #0. What issue of Spawn was it? Like,
Spawn #4, with the Violator face cover.
yeah, and then I
Yeah,
think
that
like Wildcats #2 maybe, and then yeah,
yeah,
like
I
all
don't
the
remember
Image
all the
books you had
numbers
to.
specifically, but yeah, you had to collect 7 coupons and mail away for what was it? Image #0, Dark Image
Yeah,
#0, something like that.
This
I
is
was
Marvel
also
was doing surveys in theirs too. You fill out a survey, you send away for it, and basically they would show you the results, and they would send a little goodie bag. I participated in that survey actually, but
oh yeah.
I think I was telling you before. Taylor and I were talking about this earlier. It's like the survey would be, "What's your favorite Marvel character?" Wolverine would obviously be #1, then Spider-Man, and so on. Who's your favorite villain? Should Spider-Man and Mary Jane stay together?
It's because of that
Questions like that.
survey that there were so many Wolverine comics in the '90s. So you contributed to that, Colin.
great job.
Yeah, I remember seeing him on the cover of Defenders #1. Remember that foil cover with Doctor Strange behind and Wolverine's front and center running? And like, isn't he already part of X-Men and guest starring in Captain America and all these different books? He's all over the place. But he never really, this is off topic, but he never really crossed over with Spider-Man in the
It's
90s.
true. Yeah, they don't really interact
I
that
guess they
much.
had that 180s crossover with him.
They
Yeah,
don't bounce off each other in interesting ways, though.
yeah. All right, but get back into it. Bravura #0. So there were, I think, 5 stories in here. Each story was 4 pages. So the creators involved were Jim Starlin, Howard Chaykin, Steve Grant, and Gil Kane. Jim Starlin again. He has 2 stories in here with Ernie Cohen, and Star Slammers by Walt Simonson. So, like I said, it's the cream of the crop from the '70s, um,
Are
and
you
this
guys
is
do you guys know a lot about Jim Starlin's career? Have you guys read a lot of Jim Starlin comics?
I haven't read a lot, but I know, like, academically some about his career.
yeah. I mean, I read a lot of his Marvel Cosmic stuff. Obviously, he created Thanos and a lot of those Marvel Cosmic characters. I love that stuff, and of course, Infinity Gauntlet. Like,
Yeah,
the,
the
the
biggest
current
one.
Marvel Cinematic Universe is off his back, I would
Yeah.
say, on and off the record.
It occurs to me that this coupon program is also at the same time as the McDonald's, the scandalous McDonald's Monopoly game that was
Yeah,
the same basic concept.
Yeah.
There's a good documentary on HBO about
Yeah.
that. So, what did you guys think of this particular 4-page story? Because I
It's
was,
funny.
Funny,
I
yeah. I mean, he's
In
kind
like
of
a not a ha-ha way though, but it's like, oh, okay, I see. You understand what's going on.
honestly, I'm not a big fan when these comics get very self-referential to do with comics themselves, which you see a lot of in the industry. And I guess it's supposed to be a fun thing, but I don't know. Like, why can't you just make something that is can be universally appreciated by everybody? Which I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Well, outside of that, I would say that these 4-page stories in here, you don't get a lot of bang for your buck. Like you bought 6 or 7 books worth of like that, you spent money on that, and you're getting these, like Walt Simonson's, for example. I'm going to skip to that right away here. One's just a pinup and prose story.
Which
So
is
that's kind of a
which is
rip off, but
yeah, that's not a
I,
comic.
I
That is
assume the
just
art wasn't ready at that point. Like,
yeah, it could be. But here, this Walt Simonson story, essentially, it's just effects, right? You don't get to see him draw anybody kicking ass or anything like that.
yeah,
Um,
that's true. It's just kind of
and we should say this is a sequel to the '80s Star Jammers or Star Slammers, right?
Star
Star Slammers,
Slammers.
yeah,
Yeah, Star Jammers are different things within
Yeah.
Marvel.
yeah,
So this,
Yeah, it's
yeah. This was kind of, I mean, it's. I guess this was a kind of an afterthought of when they were coming up with their own books, and they're like, well, we should do like an anthology book, just a one-off thing, and everyone was rushed to do it, I suppose, because look at what you're getting here.
well,
I
also
hate
like,
to talk negatively. I love these creators, but this is like if you take Howard Chaykin's here, I think he's the one that I mean his is the most
developed. I think it,
developed
it it it
exactly.
gives
yeah,
you a lot more to sit with.
and he's doing more. Just like the layout's basic, but you understand why. But that he's varying the style up at all. Like she doesn't look like the rest of Chaykin's stuff, and I appreciate that at least he's taking that swing.
Yeah, and the TV thing that it's taking place in is called Plex, which is a thing from American Flag. So I guess this is in the American Flag universe.
Mhm.
Hmm. That
It's,
yeah.
she's like a holographic animated character, I guess, which is part of the whole thing in American Flag, which is that like all these actors were out of work because AI characters suddenly replaced all actors.
Thank God that's not going to happen.
And
That
this
was
book,
published in the '80s, very ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Forever Maelstrom, this book that they're advertising here, never actually was published by Bravura. He took the idea to DC later on, a few years later, and someone else illustrated it, and he co-wrote it. So
What? Wow.
yeah,
They're switching sides like European power metal bands, just like in and out of groups all the time.
yeah.
Well, also, Chaykin was busy writing TV throughout the '90s. He was writing
He
that
was?
Right.
Mutant X.
He's
Yeah, he
writing
was
Mutant
writing
X.
for
Yeah.
Mutant X.
Oh, dang.
So he probably
Okay.
didn't have a lot of time to actually illustrate this, as it says, created, written, illustrated by Howard Chaykin. But yeah,
Check
I
it
guess
out. So Edge, which was by Steve Grant and Gil Kane. Actually, Howard Chaykin was an apprentice of Gil Kane. Gil Kane's a '60s guy,
Hmm.
and Chaykin cut his teeth working for him. But check this out. In a scientific project, selected people are imbued with superpowers. Now they seek to cure the ills of the world as the ultimates.
yeah, that's
TM.
crazy.
TM.
Trademark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did
Gil Kane's still alive though, right?
did I think so.
How come he hasn't sued yet?
That's a good question. Like, did
Yeah.
they somehow? Oh, wait, Malibu doesn't. I think
Oh,
Marvel.
that's right.
Allred.
Marvel owns
Yeah,
Malibu.
they own Malibu. They bought
Haha.
them for their like coloring or something. Their coloring ability.
Yeah. Although these are all creator owned, though, aren't they?
Yeah, I think he
I
might
think the
still have
regular
the rights,
Malibu
of course,
stuff was
no?
sort of co-owned by, well, yeah, because Star Slammers is still owned by Simonson,
Yeah,
and
but they're individually negotiated deals. Who knows what, like, singular line allows Marvel to say, well, we own the words "the Ultimates" now, or something like that.
well, if you go to
Or
the back cover of this,
or they paid
Colin,
him, right? Like, it's entirely possible they went, okay, yeah, sure. How much do you want for it?
or the inside cover maybe, where they advertise, or there's some sort of advertisement for Ultraverse somewhere in there, isn't there?
Oh,
Let's see here.
Ultraverse.
Oh, maybe not. I don't know.
No, just some
Yeah, because
Dreadstrar
so
sketches.
all the Ultraverse stuff, because like Rune with Barry Windsor Smith is probably the most talked about. Was an Ultraverse book, and like Barry Windsor Smith owns like a small piece of it, but not a controlling interest. So it'll probably never be reprinted ever again.
Mm,
Hmm. Do
uh,
you guys wanna move on to Legend?
Yeah,
sure,
so I guess we should say that like 4-page stories are really difficult to write.
they sure
It's
are.
Not
and
as hard as 3-page stories, though.
Yeah,
so that was an example, and like I guess we have two comics, and so we're naturally going to compare them, even if that's probably a little unfair, because I think the Legend example of what we just saw, uh, there's a lot better examples of 4-page stories, a
great
lot
ones.
more
Yeah.
meat on the bones.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to move on now to San Diego Comic-Con Comics #2. This was published in 1993, and it was the first appearance. Well, it was the first appearance of a lot of characters,
So
including
many
Hellboy.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, same sort of format. It was an anthology story.
There's two sort of comics that have been attributed as the first appearance of Hellboy, I think.
What's
Uh,
the other one?
the other one
Next
was a
Man.
Next Men comic.
Actually, I think I have it here.
Oh,
Yeah, I've
that's
got it.
right.
Yeah.
But I hear back and forth. Like sometimes this one's credited as the first appearance, and sometimes that Next Men comic is. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure um, what gets the actual designation, which
I
comes
wonder
first.
if, because this came out for the San Diego Comic Con, this one is not counted as necessarily an issue so much as something like an ash can.
Yeah, so this comic was available exclusively at the convention, or there was also like a limited mail order offer.
Oh yeah, I could see. Is it the first appearance? Yes. Is it the first wide appearance? No, that would be Next Men.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know what the publication order is because
You know
this
what?
San Diego Comic Con one came out in August, like early August. So when was that Next Men issue?
I'm just
August 1994.
Chris
Uh,
has the entire Legend line in chronological order here. So I'm just
Next
going
Men,
through.
first volume one published January 92 through December 94.
So it was like 21, issue 21, I think, maybe.
Issue 21, 17, 18.
It should have Hellboy actually on the cover.
Yeah, I'm just looking for that exact cover. It's like this. 20. There we go.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
21.
What's the month? Does it have a month on the cover?
Published 93, December 93.
Hmm.
But I can
Oh,
never remember how dates, like, because that does not mean it
there's
came out in
usually a
December.
3-month differential, but like, okay,
I don't
so
remember
this
which way
this
it
would
went,
be
though.
the actual first appearance because the San Diego Comic Con one was published August 1994. So
Oh,
so this is the second appearance of Hellboy.
hmm.
But I guess where you get to the technicals is that like the Next Men appearance, I think he was a character in a comic that the characters are reading. I think so. It wasn't an actual in-universe Hellboy. I don't know. So this San Diego Comic Con is the first like in-universe Hellboy or something.
Yeah. So Danger Unlimited was the first project that John Byrne had for Legend. And there is a line in his introduction for the trade paperback, which Chris pointed out to me. I'm just going to read it to you here. So this is the paperback I'm talking about, Danger Unlimited. It went for 4 issues, and
What a
then
90s
it
title.
bombed. So
Really?
Yeah,
John Byrne stuff, like because
Yeah,
he's
he was a superstar still at that
yeah
point.
he's coming
yeah,
off of
yeah.
Fantastic Four.
So the first line of the introduction, he says, "Since nobody else is doing the Fantastic Four right now, I thought I might as well." That's a line that he's. Let me just read the first paragraph to you guys here, okay?
Let's hear it.
So, since nobody else is doing the Fantastic Four right now, I thought I might as well. That was my snarky response whenever anybody asked me about the genesis of Danger Unlimited, how I came to concoct the book and the characters. I had had a longish history with the FF, and I did indeed miss them. But I saw no realistic way I could ever return to the book and the characters, if for no other reason than they seemed to be moving further and further away from the characters that I knew. So, Danger Unlimited is a series about 4 characters, a team. You've got your Johnny Storm, Human Torch. You got the Invisible Woman. Okay, and you got a big rock guy like the Thing.
Yeah,
But
I like
like I
the
said,
he's like a
it only
crystal
lasted
almost.
4 issues. Yeah, I think he's actually colored gray. Yeah, he's colored gray. So he's a he's essentially the Thing, a blue Thing or a gray
Yeah,
Thing. Yeah,
which like it's easy to say, oh, it's just a Fantastic Four ripoff, but like the idea of 4 adventurers, that's not a new concept, right?
I mean,
Like,
Challenges of the Unknown.
yeah, that's what Fantastic Four is pulling from.
yeah.
Kirby ripped himself off.
I gotta
Yeah,
say though, this was still some really primo Byrne art though. Like
it
Byrne was
is.
definitely he's definitely a master. He's going to be on the Mount Rushmore of American comics for sure.
Yeah, his
Um,
heads are still the right size.
yeah, and the background, every panel is fully realized. Special effects, compositions, everything is there. He doesn't skimp on a single thing, and he's one of those
I'm
guys, just like Kirby, that can just start drawing on a page like freehand everything, and it'll all be correct.
I'm surprised this bombed. Like, this is a fun opening introduction to this adventure series. You know, like space
I
station
wonder.
headquarters, explosions, punching, babes. Let's go.
I wonder what bombed means. Like, oh, it only sold 300,000 copies, so
Yeah,
we have to
I was
cancel
about to
everybody.
say, yeah. He may have even just gotten bored of it. Like I haven't done a deep dive into his career,
Yeah, it
besides
just
the
says less than
obvious stuff.
anticipated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he did like around this time
Well,
he did like 3 or 4 Dark Horse series because he also did like what the Babe
yep.
and then Next Men.
hmm
So
And
it
2112. John
and
Burns
2112.
2112.
Yeah, I've
right.
got that right here.
And Next Men went on for a while, so that one I guess was a hit. I did want to comment on the Mike Richardson write up on that inside front cover
Sure.
because he comments about what the industry was going through around that time with a lot of like around 1994 there was talk about speculators sort of ruining the industry
Mm,
or having an effect on the health of the industry. And yeah, it's just interesting to see him talk about that because this is probably just before the bust, uh, uh,
Yeah.
exiting out of the boom period.
yeah.
But also in that last paragraph, it's
The
a
third.
little ironic because he writes, "I hope you enjoy this comic book." And that it
Yeah.
becomes a truly valuable part of your collection. But please understand if I also hope that you never make so much as a dime from it. It's worth so much more than mere money, which is funny because this is a really valuable comic now.
It's five hundred
Yeah.
dollars now. Chris was telling me. Yeah,
Wow.
$500 comic right here.
Which,
Um,
just for Hellboy alone. Yeah.
yeah, probably for Hellboy alone, but also the Sin City story in here. I'm gonna flip.
Right.
Can I actually, before I get into that, I just want to also. I was going to read the third to last paragraph in Mike Richardson's introduction before we move on. What you were saying, Eric, is poignant in this paragraph. So it says, now, as comic books are receiving attention as never before, It is important to remember that the industry's long-term health depends on readers, not speculators. Resources are best spent promoting and supporting creators, not die-cut covers. This industry will continue to thrive as never before as more creators gain ownership and control of the characters and ideas they create. It's their unique and varied creations that will bring new readers into our marketplace and keep them coming back for more. 100% wholeheartedly, I agree.
Right on. Comrade Richardson wants to return the means of production to the artists.
Exactly. So, as I was saying before, Sin City. So, this Sin City story,
Oh, we're gonna skip concrete.
well, not, no, 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 we'll jump around. We'll jump around.
Oh,
But
okay.
while it's on my mind, I want to go to Sin City. So, this story was what Robert Rodriguez filmed for
Uh,
Frank Miller as kind of an audition to make the movie.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
proof of concept footage because
Yeah.
he wanted to film it to
Like the
create
look.
that Sin City style, and
Yeah.
so you kind of, I guess his idea was we're inventing a new way of filming, so let's do a short story,
Like I remember seeing this shot.
and it was designed specifically to show Frank Miller, look at what we can do, and to sell him on it.
Which, yeah. Like, it's such a distinct look. And it's such a change from his work previous to this, right? Like, I mean, I know it's an extrapolation, like it's a further iteration, but man.
Now, another thing. Now we will go back to concrete, but the genesis of both creator-owned lines is so varied. Like there's just 100 different stories about it. It's like even the conception of the name Legend. Apparently, Frank Miller and John Byrne independently came up with the name Legend. Uh, you know, Walt Simonson did end up being published by both lines. Like I said, Star Slammers #5 was never released by Bravura, but it was released as a special through Legend. Just like the chronology, you can like we could spend hours just talking about how everything was conceived and all that sort of stuff, but all of it started right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, have you guys ever read any concrete comics?
This is the first one I ever read.
Yeah, me
No,
too.
I've read some concrete comics. I picked, but I didn't read them until very later on in my adult years. Probably in the last 10 years, I've read a couple of concrete stories. I never got into it as a kid.
It's one of those things
So,
that looks fun, but I've never. It always seems kind of difficult to get or difficult to find.
Mm.
well, I'll say that like all of these properties generally feel like Teen Boy comics, but Concrete feels like it's for an adult audience. It feels very mature,
Hmm.
and it kind of stands apart from all the others, in my opinion.
It's definitely dealing with more real world stuff, at least in this.
It was one of Harlan Ellison's favorite comics. He said a lot of
Really?
great
Yeah,
things.
Brian K. Vaughan as well.
Yeah,
Huh.
and Paul Chadwick. He great artist, great use, great mastery of the pen and the brush.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks it's one of those things that at a certain time in my life I would have said, this looks terrible. I don't want anything to do with it.
Oh, 100%, dude.
And
Now,
now I'm
how
like,
stupid we
oh,
were.
yeah, right? Like you don't realize just how bad of taste you have when you're 15.
Well, I mean, it's definitely not like a really fun, super stylized, I guess, style. It's
But it
yeah,
is
I don't know.
stylized.
Yeah, I do want to comment when he's lowering himself. The one page before this, when
I,
he's lowering himself into the water. Uh, you could do this in one panel, but doing it in 3 panels gives a kind of like a slow mo vibe to the whole thing. Like he's slowly lowering himself down.
Well,
especially after
concrete.
being told.
He's
Go ahead.
thousands of pounds heavy, right?
Yeah.
So it has to show how he's navigating that, how he's distributing his body weight to perform simple tasks, just jumping into the water.
Which is a nice detail of the real world effects of something of a creature like this, or like Ben Grimm in Fantastic Four. Like, what is the weight you're putting on the world itself?
And I think that was a big part of Concrete was how he had to sort of rearrange his lifestyle because of this abnormal body. But primarily, it seems like it was there to talk politics. I think.
Sure.
Like this story feels like sort of the nagging thoughts of a politically aware American tourist abroad. Because even in this short story, he's like grappling with, whether he should involve himself in helping the environment. And yeah, you get the impression that maybe Paul Chadwick was a tourist somewhere, and
A tourist with anxiety.
yeah, there was something here about him debating whether he should get involved.
Yeah,
IOC.
yeah, it's throughout.
Well, it says even if no jail could hold me,
yeah.
it would affect others, right? Him getting
Yeah,
involved.
but and the reason he gets involved is because he says there are a million reasons not to do it, and he just figures, okay, he's going to dismantle these this machinery that's I guess destroying the rainforest. Which this is the early '90s. I feel like there was so much talk about the rainforest in the early '90s and like what's happening to the rainforest, and now I don't hear anything about the rainforest
because we fixed it.
Wait, no, we didn't. Wait,
no.
Let's move on to Eric. Take Art Adams here.
So yeah, Monkeyman and O'Brien. I actually read this in the '90s. Yeah, Arthur Adams is a funny guy. When you hear interviews with him, he's got a little bit of self-deprecation going, but yeah, I think he talked about how he was approached about doing a creator-owned book, and he came up with Monkeyman and O'Brien. I guess he really likes drawing apes and athletic, beautiful women. But then I think he realized at one point, oh no, I just created Angel and the Ape, which what is Angel and the Ape?
It's their detective agency. It's a detective story thing. Like they run, at least from the original one, they run a private eye service.
Okay, so I mean,
it's a babe and a giant ape, and they solve mysteries.
Well, so
things that sell best.
Yeah, and so this is basically the first appearance of Monkeyman and O'Brien, and there was only really a 4-issue miniseries, and then there was like a team up with Gen 13, and that's about it, I think. Along with like this short story, and there's like another short story. I actually I bought this French book. There's only 250 of these in existence. Actually, I can share my camera and show it off a bit. So yeah, I bought this French book like 3 or 4 years ago. It says there's only where does it say this? Yeah, somewhere it says there's only 250 copies. Yeah. Well, in French it says 250 exemplars. But yeah, it's pretty cool. There's
it's all black and white, right? Yeah.
Yeah, these are the short stories that were in the first 4 Hellboy issues as backups, all collected in black and white. And it's a very small book because it only really has those short stories, and then it also has it has this San Diego short story, The Shocking Case of the Brief Journey, which we see from that San Diego #2. Yeah, it's like an oversized book, as you can see, compared to this, and yeah, a very nice reproduction. Like, look at that.
Artists out there, if you want to figure out more about how your art reads, definitely check out black and white stories, because you can tell when somebody knows how to punch something forward and not get lost in the miasma of a background. Like Art Adams is really good at this.
Yeah, with creating the perfect amount of negative space,
Yeah.
and because it's easy to just fill all of this with line. Um, and he is putting so much information here. Look at all the flora, the
Yeah.
variety of flora he's putting in.
Mm.
And something I want to comment on is the line work here. There's darkness under his body, and so you get more line work. And as he works up his way up the body with the rendering, he gets less and less detail until there's nothing, because the light is above. And so he's thinking of detail in terms of the lighting.
Which is, yeah, it's an important thing to know, to think about. Line is an edge that indicates a tone shift. The less line, the thinner the line, the less cast shadow, the less edge there is.
Yeah, like here as well. Like it's all over. There's just a lot of thought put into the rendering.
It's one of those things as a young artist that when you realize it and then do it correctly, it's like it unlocks something in your brain.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so there's just another short story. It's a very small book. Do you guys think he used like a grease pencil at the end there? Because that's not something I'm used to seeing with his work. When
What do
they're
you mean
going
a
through the
grease?
portal, I'm just not used to seeing him use effects like that. But yeah, I don't know. Also, like there's a screen tone used as well, which he doesn't use a lot in his work.
Well, you can
So,
see stuff like this in Danger Unlimited. Like, I think that Adams and Byrne, they must have exchanged some ideas here. But you see on the I'll say the Human Torch character because it's easier for me. But you see this kind of spinner pattern,
yeah.
like he's employing stuff like this, which you could use Zipatone and stuff, I think too, but to keep it that consistent. But yeah, I think maybe Adams is doing something similar in that portal.
It
Yes,
is
it's just fun
a,
to see them play with different techniques.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a time of experimentation within the industry, right? Tech is allowing for new things, and
The
you never
printing is
know.
getting better. This is
Yeah.
on glossy
Yeah.
paper. They're used
Everybody
to
had 10 grand for a photocopier.
yeah, and these artists, these are the '80s crop of artists, right? They're used to using, they're used to their stuff being printed on newsprint and just bad reproduction of their line work. Whereas
Yeah.
this is on glossy, it's printed well, it's pristine.
Especially if Mike Richardson is actually being truthful there, and he did want them to have a higher control over what they were putting out. That could extend to the actual physical artwork.
Mhm.
So, what do you guys think of this this Sin City short story?
It's fantastic. Of course.
Yeah, it grabs the eye and really draws you into like, what is this? What is? I want more of this.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
so it's got a twist ending, right? Like
Yeah,
they're kind of speaking in riddles, kind of flirting, and then with that last line, it's revealed what's going on. And so what I love about it is there's that one silent panel you can see on the left at the bottom, and that reads one way before you know the twist, and then it reads a different way after you know the twist. Which is
true.
just like she's looking at him like knowingly as a as the title suggests, she's the customer,
Right.
which we eventually find out. So yeah, it's very well written in that regard.
Yeah, and it's so graphic. Like it's chunky and heavy, and it's a really interesting use of the medium as the message. Like he's really going all in on, if it's black and white, there is no gray.
yeah.
Yeah, and like what a striking first panel on that right page.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sets up everything that's coming too, right?
So we are going to be obviously looking at Frank Miller and his entire career. When we do get to the Sin City portion of his career, we're also going to be doing some comparisons to Alberto Breccia, specifically
Ooh,
Mort Cinder.
nice.
So yeah, look out for that. That's why I'm not. I mean, obviously this is amazing, but I'm not going to say too much here. I'm saving it. I'm saving it.
He's
Yeah.
got that trademark Frank Miller '90s reign. Which,
Yeah.
how often did you see him do stuff like this in the '90s?
Well, remember that Spawn
I
pinup
knew
that?
I was waiting for you to bring that up.
Yes, of course, of course.
I was teeing you up.
Yeah,
Because I know how much you
Spawn
love
pinup.
that
That was
Spawn.
just that Spawn pinup is one of the best I've ever definitely. I used to cut those out, or not cut, pull them out of the comics and have them all on my walls. The Angela one by Jim Lee, the Jeff Darrow one that he did, which actually, speaking of which, dun dun dun, we have a big guy advertisement here. Now, it says coming to Dark Horse in 1994. Didn't actually start coming out until what, 95, 96, somewhere
Sure.
around
Yeah.
there. Super late. I do love this pinup though. It reminds me of the Spawn one.
So this is what I have, but it actually came out as different volumes before the trade.
Mm,
Did it?
it did, yeah. It came out in these tabloid editions. Or would you call these? Actually, these are probably magazine size, right? Like I'd have to
No, that's
pull the
pretty
camera
big,
back
though.
to.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
big.
What
And
else
And
we
given
got?
there
our
were what? Yeah, there was two of them, right?
Yeah, there's two of them.
whoa, that's
And
got to be tabloid size.
but this is not the first appearance of Big Guy or Rusty. They
No.
actually appeared in this one here, Madman
Oh, okay.
Comics #7. And a special funny thing about this one is it says story and art by Mike Allred, Big Guy dialogue by Frank Miller.
Oh, very cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so he was actually technically the first one to draw Big Guy and Rusty, not Jeff Darrow.
The
But it's
first one
very
to have
obviously
published.
published. That's right. Yeah, but it's very very accurate to the design.
Yeah, it's just filtered through the all red
Yeah.
So
We're getting a
style.
little bit
was this
off topic, but
this is Madman number 7, is it?
Madman Comics #7, yeah.
So at what point did it join the Legend line? Was
Number
the
2.
first issue? Oh,
That
number
was
2.
#2, which I have right here.
Because
Boom.
as I recall, like he
So this
wasn't when Legend was announced. Mike Allred wasn't announced as
No. So he was added after they were formed. So the funny story behind that is, and I will point out as well. So this one is the first one with the Legends logo. He does have a writing in here where, first of all, special thanks for friendship and inspiration to, he lists a bunch of creators and he ends it with, and my new legend buddies. At the
Ah,
back of this
okay.
issue, okay, and I love this stuff, man. I sat there and just reading this before the show. Um, let's go to the back here. So it has a letter in this issue from Alex Toth. Alex Toth writes to Mike Allred, and he does talk about how, here, I'll read it from here. Mike Mignola is very promising, some few others, but you, kiddo, have uniqueness that is very special. I see it and feel it. It comes through. I want to see
Wow.
more of it as you do it. So put me on your freebie list, will you? Yeah. That was from December 31st, 1993.
Imagine getting a fan letter from Alex Toth.
Yeah.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And we should say that wasn't the first appearance of Sin City, or the first Sin City story. Does Chris have
You
all those
mean
early Dark
in
Horse?
the sorry,
Yeah,
you
in
mean
the,
in this San Diego thing?
yeah.
Yeah, he's got them right here. Let's see. So this whole
'Cause-
box is chronological. Um,
So then, what's the very first, chronologically speaking, the very first
is it number
Legend?
51?
Oh, okay, so
That sounds
that would be
right.
the very first Sin City.
Sin City. I would say, yeah. So let
They're
me.
not doing Dark Horse Presents anymore, are they?
They did in the teens or the aughts, right?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, it's not around anymore.
Long
But it was a
gone.
really cool series throughout the 90s because it was basically Mike Richardson's taste, and he has very good taste in art.
Well, if anybody out there misses anthology books, make sure to click on the pre-launch notification page for Faster Than Light, Volume 2, the magazine that I will be in.
Very cool.
Right on. No, this is Sin City episode 2. So this is hang on. Sorry. So it must have appeared in number 50.
Oh, okay.
Or something, like one of them.
Well, let me just. Oh, Eric, and what can you tell us about this?
Geez, was that in like Overstreet? It's actually in the Hellboy Artist Edition. That and the short story we're going to look at for San Diego. Because
Oh,
I'm looking at the Artist Edition right now, and it's just listed as Hellboy promo. But it was a promotional story published as a mini comic in the Comics Buyer Guide number 1070. So that's a promo comic.
it
Very
says
cool. I've never
supplement to
seen that.
Comic Buyer's Guide.
That's cool.
And how many pages is it?
4. It's literally just a folded. It's a folded paper. It's
Oh
only
yeah, okay. It's only an 11 by
one
17.
sheet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Very cool.
but
I
check
wonder
this out.
how valuable is that?
I'll ask Chris, but this is the official first appearance of Sin City. Dark Horse presents number 50.
Oh, with Martha Washington on the cover.
Yeah, Martha Washington and Concrete and Hard Boiled and Aliens.
Very cool.
Let me. You want me to crack? Should I? Shoot. We'll save this for another time, right?
No,
Yeah,
crack it open. I
Crack
mean,
it open. All right.
we'll go deeper into it in the future, maybe. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it'd be
Okay.
cool to quickly take a look. Geez, all these are worth so much. All these
Oh
comics we're
yeah.
looking for.
Thousands of dollars here. Thousands of dollars worth of stuff. Chris was telling me he acquired a lot of this from over COVID. People were having fire sales.
Oh, yeah. And then towards the end of COVID, that's when prices skyrocketed on everything. Then you get like everything marked as a first appearance is going for insane money, even if it's like a one-off character that nobody cares about. You'll see a little sticker that says first appearance of
Yeah, a little
Dr.
bit. You
Frost
can
or
retape
something, which
this.
is like, who cares?
There you go. Okay, here we go. So yeah, really nice cover. Watercolor. Maybe. Hey, did Lynn Varley color this? Do you think?
Oh,
I just want to see. Let me read the inside here. Uh,
so that's square
Cover by
bound.
Frank Miller and Lynn Varley. That's right.
nice.
Yeah, this was square bound too. I'm not going to pull it all the way open, but you
Oh,
can
is that
see.
the only illustration of Martha Washington by Frank Miller? Because I've
I
never
was
seen him
thinking
draw
that.
Martha Washington.
Yeah, maybe the only aliens, the only concrete. There's probably a lot of first and onlys on this cover. But let's skip
And
over
this
to.
this probably predates the Legend logo, right?
I don't. Is there a Legend logo? There's no Legend logo on here. Yeah.
Well, I guess it wouldn't be on Dark Horse Presents, but
Yeah, because that's not part of the line.
All these are from 1991, though. This was published in
yeah,
91.
I think Legend is like 93.
Yeah.
So a lot of these stories are sort of retroactively Legend, part of the Legend imprint. Like a lot of those early John Byrne stories. Like I think Next Men probably
There we go.
wasn't Legend.
Here it is. Sin City episode 1.
Yeah, and it's just how many pages is this?
Wow.
I guess the first chapter was only like
The first chapter is
6 or 7 pages,
5,
right?
6, 7, 8 pages. Yeah, each chapter I suppose was 8 pages. But a lot of great talent on this book. Look at the back. Who we got? Dave Gibbons, Paul Chadwick, Simon Bisley, Matt Wagner, Andrew Vax, Mark Verheyden, Chris Warner, Phil Norwood, Klaus Janson, Tom McWeeny, Rich Hedden, John Arcudi, Dougie Braithwaite, Robert Campanella, Phil Guinan, Randy Stradley, Jerry Prosser, and Anina Bennett.
A 50th issue extravaganza.
Big
Hell
time.
yeah.
Well, look at it. It's like a
It's like a trade.
Yeah, it's like a magazine.
Yeah. All right, we'll revisit that. But let's. So yeah, we were talking about Madman. So Mike Allred was the last. Hang on, let me just put this.
Actually, I want to briefly talk about this Don Martin's Dr. Dork. What did you guys think of this one?
Oh yeah.
It's very. You know what it made me think of is an old joke book from like the 60s about like how much you love golf and hate your wife.
Yeah, he also actually Martin also did the cover, obviously, for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that because I remember looking at this cover and thinking, this is a comic that features Arthur Adams, Frank Miller, Jeff Darrow, John Byrne, and this is the cover.
It is strange, yeah.
But Don Martin, it turns out, is probably the biggest. In his career, he's probably had the biggest audience out of all those guys.
Yeah, a lot of these creators probably grew up reading his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, he's arguably. I won't say he's the biggest star, but he's had the biggest audience out of any of these guys. Because he was. I guess when he was working for Mad Magazine, he was dubbed Mad's maddest artist.
Sure, yeah.
So he was sort of famed for creating like crazy onomatopoeia sound effects. Like if you go back, Colin, like he created like Deut and Deet and Fuma, like you just like made a lot of that stuff up.
Poom. Yeah, it was fine.
It feels like it was a Doctor Who riff because he was like traveling in a porta potty instead of like Doctor Who's like police box, which is kind of fun. And then we have Rick Geary. Do you guys know much about Rick Geary?
Not at all. No.
So if you go to the cover, he designed the San Diego Comic-Con toucan mascot, which you see on the cover, and you can see his name is signed on that mascot.
Oh yeah.
And that was the San Diego Comic-Con mascot from 1982 to 1995.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
So this Rick Geary is 79 years old, and he's still making comics. He just released a comic from Fantagraphics in January. Yeah, just January he released a new comic. Daisy Goes to the Moon, which is like an adaptation of I think like a kid wrote some story in the early 1900s and he adapted it, maybe. I might have those details wrong though, but if you're a comic artist, there's no retirement, maybe? I don't know.
Yes, in 1919, Victorian author Daisy Ashford, 1881 to 1972, published a book she wrote at 9 years old to great success. Inspired by her imaginative adventure, writer Matthew Klickstein and cartoonist Rick Geary have created a delightful graphic novel in which little Daisy goes to outer space.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Imagine being born in 1881 and dying in 1972.
Oh man. And like this little girl wrote about going to outer space in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder. I'd be intrigued to see how that was adapted.
I mean, probably it's probably got a real feel of From the Earth to the Moon sort of thing.
Yeah, right. Very scientifically based.
Yeah, we just like shot a cannon at the moon. Take that, you stupid moon! I'm gonna walk all over your face.
So coming to Dark Horse in 1994, Madman Comics. Madman, the world's snazziest comics magazine. I have a confession to make. I have never read a Madman comic.
Neither have I.
I need to fix that though.
Shit.
Yeah, I know.
Madman is fan-fucking-tastic. Mike Allred is
Yeah.
GOAT. He
It's a
said
national
one.
treasure.
Actually, let me tell you guys. In one of the back matters of one of the issues of the more recent series, the Image comic series that he was doing, I think in the aughts or the teens. He wrote about somebody wrote about. It wasn't him. It was his editor. Who was his editor? Denny O'Neil? No, not Denny O'Neil. Okay, I'm totally fucking it up. But anyway, someone wrote in the back matter of one of Madman comics. Uh, he asked Mike Allred, "Where do you get your ideas?" And Mike Allred just went like this, and he goes, "I get them all from here." He just kept doing this to his whole body. His whole body was responsible for Madman. All his inspiration was drawn from himself.
Yeah, sure. Oh, from when he was doing iZombie.
When he was doing Madman.
Oh no,
Yeah, iZombie was much later.
Okay.
But now we have a Hellboy short story.
The piece de resistance.
The reason this is $500 right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this short story is in the Hellboy artist edition.
Right on.
Which do you guys want to take a look at it?
Yeah, let me just. Okay, so we're gonna close this out, right? Okay, then we're gonna close this out and then switch over to the artist edition. Oh no, hang on. Let's just polish this off and then we'll switch over. Okay.
Okay.
So we finish up here. So we will revisit this in just a moment. But let's finish up. We're gonna look at Martha Washington Goes to War. This was the second Martha Washington series. The first one being Give Me Liberty. And this is actually a really good. I did like this story. I think this is kind of a personal favorite of mine right here at the end, where Martha and the I guess the opposing force, they both end up having a draw in combat, and they end up bonding at the end.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It made me think of the Christmas truce in World War One.
Yeah.
Or Enemy Mine.
I hadn't made that connection.
With Dennis Quaid. Classic.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go back one page, I just want to comment on like how Dave Gibbons is an absolute master at the comics form. And on this second page here on the right, I just want to comment on the perfect flow of these two panels where your eye travels in a Z path. And so when your eye is moving left to right, you're seeing her point the gun, and then it moves like a Z back down to the left. Right away, you see that gun explode. And I mean, this is just like perfect comics making. The flow of these panels is just so well thought out and so well done.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. Another thing is, it's alarmingly deceptive. Like it does make the eye flow in a Z pattern, zigzag, but you can see the composition of each panel. It doesn't actually. If you look at like say Steve Ditko's stuff in Amazing Spider-Man, you can actually kind of see the Z zigzag direction for the eye. But here, every panel is so unique that it's actually he's employing things like blacks and the anatomy pointing in a certain direction or lines of motion. Yeah, he's definitely a master.
Oh man, the lighting in this is so great. Like that first page, just the underlighting. Like if you go back a page, the underlighting on this robot here, that is not easy to light, and it looks so good. It looks so good. I'm so happy we get to see it in black and white because I'm sure great colorists could do a good job, but I just love seeing all this in black and white. It's just so impressive.
He also does a great job of giving these mech suits some real heft to them. Like they do feel heavy, that they would get bogged down in this swamp, and that, I have to get out of this thing. One way or the other. It would be a lot easier to move through this space without this ton of metal around me.
Yeah, now we said it's really difficult to write a 4-page story. This is an amazing 4-page story. Like Frank Miller, Uh, how about this last line? You gotta love this last.
We don't talk politics. Yeah.
Yeah, which I would recommend the readers go somehow find this 4-page short story. We kind of ruined it. I kind of ruined it, I guess, by pointing out that last line. But it just like, I don't know. I'm Mike Mignola is one of my favorite artists, and I was expecting the Hellboy story to be my favorite. But I have to say that this Martha Washington short was my favorite out of all of these.
Yep, definitely.
Wow. Yeah, bold stance. Didn't know you were a traitor like that.
He's agreeing with me.
You're sticking with Mike Mignola?
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Which, I guess we got James O'Barr here with Gothic, and then what else?
Much better art from him than I am used to seeing.
Which I've never heard of this Gothic.
Neither have I. Yeah, I remember reading part of The Crow and thinking, ugh, this is awful. But he's clearly leveled up in the 10 years since that and that creation.
And Grendel's another blind spot for me.
Yes.
I read the first couple of years of Grendel. It's fine.
It's not your thing.
Yeah.
But shall we look at Taylor's favorite story in?
Yeah.
So this actually primarily has the Hellboy in Hell stories. With, as you can see, there's no word balloons, but at the back here we have that. Actually, so we have a bunch of short stories. So the San Diego Comic-Con #2 story. We have that Comics Buyer Guide story. And then we have the pages from John Byrne's X-Men #21. Then we have the Corpse in the Iron Shoe in here.
Oh, cool.
And a couple of others.
Nice.
Yeah, so take a look at the blue line that we have going on here. You can see here that the more modern Mignola stuff, there's a little bit of blue I can see here, but not much. Whereas here, he's going all out, it looks like. This is like blue line everywhere right here. And you can see the dog's face was originally going to be a different pose there.
It was a lot more forward.
Yeah, that's fun to see. And I don't know what's going on here, but like every single text is a cutout, and it looks like it was pasted on.
He may have rewrote it. He may have rewrote the words after.
Well, I can't figure out who lettered this. I looked online and I cannot find a lettering credit.
It's probably him.
You think so?
No, it's probably John Byrne. Wouldn't it have been John Byrne?
John Byrne took the like physical pages and wrote on them?
Actually, there's a story out there about how John Byrne was on a panel with Dave Gibbons.
Yeah.
And John Byrne says that tells the audience that Dave Gibbons actually lettered a lot of these comics without realizing it, because John Byrne turned Dave Gibbons' lettering into a font, and then John Byrne lettered with that font. And Dave Gibbons tells this story jokingly, kind of saying, are you ever going to pay me, considering I lettered those? Or I might have butchered that story, but and it was all in jest, though. But you might be right. Maybe it was John Byrne, because we should say that John Byrne, it's his script and emotional support.
Yeah.
So the story was, this is basically Mike Mignola just drew a story and then handed it over and told John Byrne, can you come up with dialogue?
Yeah.
And a lot of that was like a confidence issue, I think.
Yeah, he didn't feel that his writing was up to snuff. He was afraid that dialogue would sound stilted and stupid. Because that's also in the very first full miniseries of Hellboy is John Byrne listed as at least script.
Yeah, and interestingly, because it was it had the Legend logo, and it was Hellboy was like a big Legend launch, and John Byrne had his Legend book, and he was also providing scripting for the Hellboy stuff. John Byrne suggested, why don't you put my World War II character in there? And so
Torch of Liberty.
that's a weird thing, because let's be honest, nobody really remembers those John Byrne characters, but
No.
Hellboy was the big standout.
Yeah,
Out of
actually,
all,
I have some I have a quote to read from Mignola regarding Legend and his success with Hellboy. Um,
Let's hear it.
all right. I was very, very fortunate because around the time I started talking about doing a creator owned book, about a year or two after the image stuff got going, creator owned stuff was still a viable alternative, and there were publishers out there looking to do creator owned material. I was talking to people like Frank Miller, Art Adams, who were all planning on or working on creator owned material. So a bunch of us got together and approached Dark Horse, saying, why don't you take all our books and we'll create this separate imprint within Dark Horse? The great thing about that is I was the one guy who didn't have this great track record. You had Dave Gibbons from Watchmen, Frank Miller from Dark Knight, John Byrne from X Men, and everything else, Art Adams from everywhere, Jeff Darrow from Hard Boiled. I was the one guy kind of along for the ride, and so you had this high profile group of people with the spotlight shining on them because of this Legend imprint. So my book got seen. Without the Legend thing, it might have just been another miniseries from Dark Horse and people saying, oh, there was this demon thing. We don't know what the hell this thing was. And he laughs here. He says, hey, you had for a brief period of time people buying or looking at everything from this new imprint, and I benefited from it the most.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
all those books have kind of been forgotten, and
Save for Sin City,
Hellboy's
of course.
yeah, but I mean, Hellboy is bigger than Sin City.
Way bigger. Yeah, I would
Um,
say Sin City's a distant second. I don't think Sin
Yeah.
City does Hellboy numbers.
so that's really impressive, though, and yeah, part of that is that he just consistently worked on the property, but I mean, it's also just a quality thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very his own thing. What will be interesting to take a look at in a later episode is, especially with this book, is how much this art changes to, say, the Hellboy and Hell stuff, which is kind of his last big work on the character, and just how simplified it gets. But it's not as if he was ever adhering to strict rules of anatomy.
Yeah, I mean, he just has a really fun style.
Yeah,
You gotta
I
love
think
this, like the Kirby Crackle.
I think Alan Moore described it as Jack Kirby meets German expressionism.
Oh,
Oh
really?
wow, great.
Yeah,
Nice.
which is like, yeah, it is just like the heavy blacks and the overarching feel of doom and emotion, but also a demon with a giant fist punches a monkey to save a woman.
Love this John Byrne along for the ride, because like John Byrne is upfront and honest about, like, he's like, I didn't do much. Like,
Yeah,
um, yeah, it's fun to see clearly he had a different composition going on here, and here he had the entire building like worked out.
which was, yeah, that makes sense. You want to have, wait, where did it go? What happened to it?
Yeah, and a lot of white out here, so it's a lot of fixes there.
I'm just noticing he was using Marvel Comics paper.
Yeah, he had stacks of it, probably just
Yeah.
left over. And here's the art he did for that Next Men number 21.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Mike, if you're so inclined, you can replace the lettering in Danny's burst with the actual Hellboy logo. So Mike is the letterer, whoever Mike is. We should find that out. Flash it on the
Mignola?
screen right now, I guess.
Let me see.
Or Richardson. It
Oh,
might be.
Oh, it might be Mike Mignola. What am I thinking? Yeah.
It might be Richardson as well.
Yeah, who wrote this if it's to Mike? Oh.
From a from like a production standpoint.
You can see some dialogue was written here, which is interesting because he didn't write the final dialogue, but I guess he was showing some notes there. And we have this really cool double page splash.
Frick,
Oh
that's cool.
wow, man, I love comics.
Right on. Yeah. Like that's rad.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is great.
you can do anything.
Yeah, I love seeing all the scribbles here in like Oliver's face and everything. Yeah, actually, he did a lot more. He did a lot more of this than I thought.
Yeah.
He did he did about 8 page or 10. I guess he did half that issue, eh?
Looks like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we have the cards, which we'll probably look at a different date. But it's crazy that people own these pages.
Wow.
Yeah, those lucky SOBs.
Yeah. So there's that, and I did briefly mention Blanc Noir at the beginning of the show, so I just want to quickly show off. Like this was kind of, I think, the third big movement in comics at that time. Was the Gaijin Studios guys did Blanc Noir at Dark Horse, and
You want to do a roll
is Brian
call of
Stelfreeze.
who is part of that group?
Yeah, so you can actually see it right here. This is what I mean. The most memorable one we have is Body Bags,
Yeah.
but
In
yeah. So we got Jason Pearson, and we got Adam Hughes, Joe Phillips with Dexter Vines, and Brian Stelfreeze and Carl Story, and
Cully Hamner.
Who is that? Oh, Cully Hamner. Most of these books didn't come out. Like actually, the only ones that came out were these the Maximum Velocity short stories in the back of The Heretic by Joe Phillips. Maximum Velocity was by Brian Stelfreeze, and then obviously the 4 issues of Body Bags came out as well. And that's it. We never really got Adam Hughes' No One character.
Oh, that's too bad.
Unfortunately.
That would have been great. Check out our Adam Hughes episode.
But yeah, one day we'll do a Gaijin Studios episode. So I just wanted to briefly cover that. And we can go back to Colin. So
okay, so like I know we're not touching too much on Bravura.
Yeah, we already talked about Bravura,
Okay.
and yeah, I mean it's pretty obvious how we felt. We
yeah,
blitzed through it.
Okay, Monkeyman and yeah, I'm just gonna throw down some books on the table. Monkeyman and O'Brien, of course, and for Mike Allred, he also did Red Rocket 7. Now, Red Rocket 7 is actually, Chris told me it's conceived as a trilogy. So this is a comic book about music. That's not really doing it justice, but that's as you can see from the homage to the Sgt. Pepper album cover, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a book about music, but Mike Allred also created an independent film and a music album. So it's kind of conceived as a trilogy.
Oh, cool.
Chris actually owns the independent film.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
What is this? What is this thing called?
This is such a cool format for a comic, because this is the big numbers format, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess it wasn't conceived because of big numbers. I guess it was conceived as an album size. But very cool. I need to own this. I've always wanted to draw a comic in this format, but it's not very commercially viable.
No,
you
it doesn't fit
won't
on
get
shelves.
a lot of retailer support.
Yeah,
for something like this.
Although you'd think now with kind of less restrictive shelving, because it used to be like spinner racks and stuff would keep the format specific.
I love this cover. Look at this.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's great.
Isn't that wild?
The movie is called Arrow-esque, I believe.
Yeah.
It is the first thing to come up for it is a Reddit post under r/bad movies.
Oh wow. So I don't see a Legend logo on here. We should probably say that Legend didn't last very long.
It sure doesn't seem to have. No. Like, does it even last to the end of the 90s?
I don't think so.
Oof.
I think that I think there was an idea that there would be a shared universe, and I think John Byrne was really into this idea, and Mike Allred was really into this idea.
It's funny you brought that up. I've got the Next Men issue where it kind of breaks the fourth wall, and John Byrne, Art Adams, and Mignola are actually in the Next Men universe.
Yeah, I was just going to say that like they were the two that were really into the idea, and the rest of them didn't care so much about the shared universe aspect.
Yeah.
Just give me 1 sec. I got it right here somewhere.
And so I believe Hellboy showed up. Hellboy showed up in a couple issues of Danger Unlimited by John Byrne, and so there was a little bit of back and forth. Interestingly, Hellboy also showed up in Savage Dragon, which is the Image universe. So yeah, Hellboy's been all over the place. But I don't think there was a large amount of passion for the Legend brand among a lot of these creators because it clearly didn't last very long. And you can kind of track it, I think, with if you look at the original Hellboy comics. I wonder when the logo disappears. Like, actually, can you pull up, Colin, some old Hellboy, some like late 90s Hellboy comics and see when the Legend logo disappears?
Sure. Just 1 sec. I was also simultaneously looking for the that story with Adams. There was a flap in the center here, but I kicked out. There it is. Here we go. So we got John Byrne.
I can tell you it's gone by Conqueror.
Art Adams and Mike Mignola.
Wait, which is which? Which is which?
Mike Mignola is the growly looking person.
Adams and Mignola.
He's the angry one.
Huh.
Now, you guys.
Boy, I guess these guys aren't really that distinctive.
Yeah, John Byrne liked to do this a lot, which I guess he was inspired by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby showing up in those early Marvel comics. But John Byrne would put himself in She-Hulk comics, and I guess this is a situation where these creators walk into some sort of comic company that exists in this universe.
Which was a super popular idea in the 90s, because that shows up in... that comes to the forefront in Marvel. I think that's where it's revealed that, like, yeah, there are Spider-Man comics in the Marvel universe. They're produced by in-universe Marvel comics. They're just not the ones you're reading. They're like fake, what everybody makes up to be Spider-Man's real stories or something.
All right, so basically, Wake the Devil number 5 of 5 is the last Legend logo. And then Hellboy, Almost Colossus number 1 is without the Legend logo.
Yeah, that disappeared faster than I thought. So it was only there for 2 Hellboy miniseries and a couple of specials.
Yeah, 1996. I don't know what year this was published. Probably 97. 96, 97. No, it says 96 there. Yeah. So, yeah.
So basically 3 years, 1993 to 1996.
Woof. Which... yeah, I mean, I get it feels like, because you're right, there was the push to do it in Image, Chapel, for instance, being the person that kills
Al Simmons
in Spawn. But it feels like it's the same reaction that movie studios had 10 years ago to, like, oh, we got to have a shared universe. It's like, you don't. And you didn't do it right. You didn't start correct. So it's going to be bad.
Really.
Yeah. So
that's how the Marvel Universe started. The Marvel Universe didn't start as like this grand like project. It was just like introducing a superhero team and then introducing Ant-Man and then introducing Thor. And And
Yeah,
it
the
sort of
first
naturally came together. It was not designed that way.
the first crossover is with Fantastic Four and Hulk of all things. Just
Yeah, like
because they were
12
like,
issues into Fantastic Four.
yeah, just because they wanted, well, who could beat the Thing? The Hulk. So let's do them fight.
And also, Hulk had probably been canceled by that point, so
I
they
think
just
so.
wanted
Yeah,
to continue the character somewhere.
yeah, yeah, because it's a good idea. Might as well keep it going. Um, yeah, and then Spider-Man also attempts to join the Fantastic Four,
I'm just pulling out
Oh,
randoms
right.
here.
That's right. Yeah.
like issue 2 or something. Or no, the very first Amazing Spider-Man issue. He attempts to join the Fantastic Four. John Byrne's Babe.
So I'm guessing this was his She-Hulk riff. Like he left She-Hulk
right.
and then,
Yep.
which, yeah, I recall. I think I read a couple of these way back when.
Nice Botticelli reference there.
Yeah. But the other thing is these guys were. This was quality work by all these creators coming out.
Torch of Liberty. All right. Hellboy has his gun.
This doesn't have a Legend logo on it, but I think it's still of the same. Oh, it's just. I think it's just a later book by John Byrne. What else we got here? Proto Tykes Holiday Special.
What is that? A riff
I've
on
never heard of that.
Power Pack?
Yeah,
It looks like a spin-off from Danger Unlimited.
Yeah, but like a lot of these seem to be him doing, okay, well, if I didn't have to worry about, it's the Star Wars thing, right? Okay, I can't get Flash Gordon, so I'll make Star Wars. That seems to be what he's doing. I don't have access to She-Hulk, I'll do Babe.
Yeah, it's interesting that he was doing that way back when, because there's kind of a resurgence of doing bootleg character comics these days. Like there's a bit of a movement going on about doing a bootleg Spider-Man comic, or a bootleg Batman comic with like the name slightly changed, but clearly it's Batman. And this is sort of a version of that, but not bootleg. It's but it's not very well hidden.
No.
Of course, we got Concrete.
But I mean, I guess like Jim Lee leaves X-Men and creates Wildcats, where Wildcats has all the archetypal.
All the way up to Robert Kirkman's firepower is just, well, what if I did Iron Fist?
Yeah. That's cool, Daredevil reference. Yeah. Daredevil #1.
Here comes Dark Horse Presents.
There's some really nice covers. Yeah, so check this one out. Check that out.
Ooh, that's nice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a Godzilla holiday or color special by
by Arthur Adams.
Yep. I can't believe he has this.
Yeah, Arthur Adams was all about the monsters.
Never noticed Godzilla's dog-like nose before.
Does he have the Arthur Adams Creature of the Black Lagoon in there? Because
let me look. Chris, do you have Creature of the Black Lagoon? It's on the bookshelf. He's gonna get it.
Yeah, because around this time, all this stuff was this Arthur Adams stuff was reprinted in what was it? Arthur Adams Creature Feature Special.
Oh, thanks. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can find some of this stuff collected in a trade called Arthur Adams Creature Feature, but I don't know.
Well, you can really see the Mike Golden influence in these kind of midpoint Adams stuff.
Doesn't work so well with the glossy paper, those colors.
No, I was gonna say.
No. Yeah, because there's nothing much to punch up.
Solid stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what other Is that about it for the Legend stuff? Is there any other deep
Well,
cuts that we're
well, I
missing?
mean, outside of the usual Sin City, Hellboy, like he's he's got everything here in chronological order. I just picked out the weirdos like the Godzilla and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
I think we've pretty much tapped the vein.
Yeah, there's not much. It's the Danger
It's
Unlimited,
essentially a short
Concrete,
box.
Big
It's a
Guy.
short box full of books. So that's 3 years worth of books in one box.
Yeah, it's very it. You're right. It starts. Babe is one of the earliest at 94, and then the last is Concrete, Strange Armor,
Beautiful cover.
98.
Check this out, guys.
Yeah. Although
Yeah.
I think I realized he's missing one thing, which is that Wizard cover. There's that Wizard magazine that has, I guess it's a collage cover of,
Oh, it's
everybody
Wizard
contributing their
number.
characters standing
Yeah,
in line.
he's still on the hunt for that one. I could have sworn I saw that at the store actually at Golden or
Yeah. Well, you got to get that for
yeah.
Chris because
Wizard number
that's the one thing
31.
he's missing.
Yeah, Wizard number 31. Oh, shoot, there was some stuff I want to read off about Bravura from Simonson, but I'll just leave it. Well, actually, no. Good segue because
Yeah,
Star
yeah.
Slammers was uh, 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 Legend. So one sec, let me pull it up here.
Star Slammers was Bravura, right?
Yeah, but number 5 was
Star Slammer
published as a
Special.
special for Legend.
So
Yeah,
Star Slammers transferred over.
yeah. So this is an interview from Modern Masters Volume 8 on Walt Simonson. The interviewer asks, "Were you asked to be one of the founders of Legend?" Walter says, "That's a little blurry to me. I've certainly seen that written down, but I don't think so. I think that I may have talked to Dave Olbrich or Malibu or a couple of the guys that ended up in Bravura before anybody from Legend got a hold of me and asked about it. By the time Legend was around, I felt that I had given my word to go this other direction. That's as much as I remember. I joined up later when Bravura went away." Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna read this off though. Interviewer says, "The miniseries finished at Dark Horse, and there was quite a gap between the fourth and fifth issues. Were you worried about people forgetting about the book?" Simonson says, "Oh, sure. I always am, but somehow it never seems to matter. After Bravura and Malibu went away, they ran out of gas, and then Marvel picked them up and dismantled them. I got the last issue done and signed on with Legend. Dark Horse called it a Star Slammer special rather than issue number 5. I understood that, but it confused some people. I still meet people who go, 'Why didn't you finish that series?' Since it was coming out so late, I drew a 1 page summary of each of the 4 preceding issues. In theory, you could pick up the special and still have your whole backstory by the time you got to the splash page and read the rest of the comic."
Hmm.
Yeah. And shoot, I mean, do we have time to go into Mike Allred? I got some Mike Allred. Yeah, I have an interview here about how he joined Legend from Modern Masters, Volume 16, the Mike Allred special. Give me one sec. All right, this is a couple paragraphs. Okay, so just bear with me. "When Dark Horse picked up Madman and provided even more success than I had had, it occurred to me that that's where I needed to focus. I know I say the word a lot, but it really is about clarity and having that focus to figure out where to put your creative energy. And I think the whole thing that just really locked me into the industry as a whole and really established my career was the creation of Legend at Dark Horse. This was following the phenomenal success of the Image guys, and everybody around the industry was realizing, hey, there's strength in numbers, so let's form our own group. So you'd see these imprints popping up all over the different companies. Because Image was at Malibu at the time, Image hadn't become its own publishing company at that point, and this was new ground. Everybody was realizing, wow, we're the ones that make the industry work. We need to take more control and get a firmer grip on the steering wheel of our careers. Well, Mike Mignola, Frank Miller, Paul Chadwick, Geof Darrow, Dave Gibbons, Art Adams, and John Byrne formed Legend, and they had made a deal with Dark Horse to kind of set themselves apart as this group. The idea was that they would have their characters cross pollinate into each other's books, and they would show up at conventions together and be an entity as well. Looking back, I would say that the Legend group was the only one that rivals the success of Image in a way. The main difference being that Legend wasn't as ambitious in the publishing sense and remained an imprint at Dark Horse that never took the next step. Fortunately for me, and to this day, I still don't understand why, they invited me into that group. So the interviewer asks, had you met many of those guys by that point? Mike, I had. Art Adams was in the San Francisco area, and I'd always go to WonderCon. In fact, Art was the first superstar I ever met. At that first WonderCon, he was the guy you'd go, who's behind all those people? There's this huge line of crowd around him, and somebody told me, oh, that's Art Adams. Later, when there would be, excuse me, Later, when there would be all these opportunities for artists to get together, I ended up meeting him, and he's just one of the funniest, friendliest guys. In fact, Laura and I say that the funniest, most enjoyable time we've ever had at a convention was when we were up in a hotel suite at a party and we were sitting with Art Adams, Mike Mignola, and Steve Purcell. It was like we were at a comedy club and all three these comedians were performing for us. We were crying from laughter, and and all that they were doing was relating experiences that they had being roommates and neighbors and all these things that they had done, ways that they would torture each other, and it was hilarious. Boy, just get those three guys together and it's pure joy. So yeah, we did get to know these guys. I remember meeting Frank Miller for the first time with Bob Schreck, who again was my editor. Bob Schreck, that was the guy who said that. That was the guy who wrote that back matter in that Madman comic. Anyway, uh, Bob Schreck, who was my editor, and also very tight with Frank. This was months before I went to Dark Horse, and it was outside of the convention. And Schreck was like, "Hey, Frank, I want you to meet Mike." And Frank had all these great, nice, wonderful, flattering things to say. And it was like, wow, Frank Miller. Unfortunately, I don't see this happen too much anymore, but these opportunities at conventions where the creators have a place to get together, there used to be receptions. I don't really see that happening so much anymore. Who was it that invited you to the group? Mike says, Frank Miller. I already knew what Legend was,
Oh, cool.
and the first issue of Madman Comics at Dark Horse already came out. So Frank Miller calls me up and asks if I'd like to be a part of Legend Group, and it just kind of knocked me back. I was flummoxed, and I actually asked him, "Are you sure?" Because these guys were all established and had been doing groundbreaking work in the business. Mike was just then introducing Hellboy. The big guy and Rusty the Boy robot was Geof and Frank's new creation, but their Hardboiled series set the comic book world on fire. And Concrete had won just about every award there was. And John Byrne. So I'll just stop it there. Really nice interview.
This is from Tomorrow's?
Yeah, Modern Masters series, number
Yeah.
16.
If you're a fan of comic book history, check out Tomorrow's, TWOMorrows.com.
Yeah, you can buy the digital editions of all these old interview magazines at their website, and it's gold, solid gold. So well worth the money spent.
I have one last thing in closing, and then I guess we can close this episode out. Do you mind?
Cool.
All right. John Byrne on Legend. Okay, now this is from his forum, his online forum.
Oh,
This
cool.
is dated from 2005. Here we go. As Joe Duffy once said so aptly put, it didn't take long for Legend to become myth. Legend was inspired by Image when Image was an imprint under Malibu. What a great deal, we thought. Let's do the same, only we'll do it right. And by right, we meant no soliciting of the books that never happened, no late books, no gimmicks, nothing, in fact, but comic books. And we had some of the finest talents working in the business ready to produce those comic books. Contrary to the moronic droolings, or at least of one of the louder whiners of the fan press, Legend did not refer to those of us who had founded it. That would have been Legends with an S, and that would not have been what we were claiming to be about. Instead, being the anti-image, we cast about for something that would say, "Here there be stories," and legend is what came up. As I recall, Frank Miller and I came up with a name independently, but almost simultaneously. Then reality set in. First, we discovered some of the guys, one in particular, could not produce even the small amount of work promised. Then, what might be politely deemed other considerations began to creep in. Like, let's do legend card set. Let's include people who have only just joined but don't have any work yet. That won't really be the same as promoting projects that don't exist, right? Frank was the first to declare that he would no longer use the legend totem on his books. I followed his lead. And then I was thoroughly castigated online by people who would rather dramatically miss the point when I did not use the emblem at all on Wonder Woman. Oh well. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
That's a real miss.
All right. Well, that was a good one, guys. You want to close it out? Taylor, did you do some art or anything like that?
I sure
All
did.
right. Throw it up.
I'm sticking to this.
Let me swap frames here.
Put my dumb ugly mug up and then replace it with this.
Oh, very cool. Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Watercolor?
Yeah, so it's yes, it is. Yep. Eric gave me his first watercolor set that I've been using, and yeah, it's.
You're really taken to it.
I am. Yeah, it's. I remember there was something that actually a commenter pointed out about watercolor. So I can't. Sorry, I don't remember your name, but thank you for this. Is they're all water soluble. So if you need to pull something off, just like wet it and absorb away. And yeah, I used it a lot in this, but also just learning how colors go together better. This has been a better teacher in color theory than the actual university course that I took for color theory. And yeah, it's been super fun to also figure out little things like, how does Mignola do his legs? This, I poured over so many Hellboy things just to get like, what does his legs do?
Yeah.
It's the hoofs too, but it's more like he has a very distinctive way of showing somebody mid leap.
Yeah.
And they're kind of, it gives you this, they're kind of slightly distended. So you have this feeling of them hanging in the air. Like they've been up there so long that their legs have started to drop down. Right. And yeah, it's one of those neat little things that once you figure out what he's doing, you can see it. And I hope replicate it better.
And we should say that all this art is for sale.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. If you guys want, let me know.
Yeah, just reach out.
Yeah, it's pretty much the greatest thing you've ever done.
Thank you. I hope to top it for the next episode.
All right.
Yeah, looking forward to the next one. So, yeah, we can close this one out.
You didn't want to throw one last plug
Colin and I didn't do any art, so...
you want to throw one last plug in, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm busy drawing the next issue of Assorted Crisis Events. Yeah. So, yeah, yeah, there's not a lot of time to do extra art on the side.
Paying artwork and fatherhood getting in the way of doing hobby projects. God.
Yeah.
Oh, you're having fun, though. I'm jealous.
All right, let's close it out then. Hey, well, so thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.